Chris Walker, thank you so much for joining us today to talk about your fellowship experience. I'm going to ask you a few questions just to help our members understand fellowship and the routes to applying. First off, tell us a bit about yourself and your current role.
Sure. So, as you said, my name is Chris Walker. My current role is Vice President and Head of European Regulatory Affairs at Amgen. So I've been a member of TOPRA since I became a regulatory professional in 1996, when TOPRA was still BIRA. And since that time, I've gained regulatory qualifications through TOPRA and attended several TOPRA courses and meetings. And I've volunteered with TOPRA in quite a few different ways over my regulatory career. After completing the MSc, I joined the advertising committee. I've acted as a coordinator at the introductory course, helping to run case studies, a speaker at the MSc course itself. I've helped to organise and run the annual TOPRA Leadership Summit over the last few years. And most recently, I'm on the panel that helps us to select those that apply for the TOPRA Fellowship.
Did you apply for fellowship or were you nominated by a peer?
So I applied for TOPRA Fellowship myself. It's around 5 years ago, something like that. I nominated myself, but I asked one of my colleagues who was a fellow to endorse my application.
And tell us about your career path and your experience. You've mentioned a little bit already, but one of the key areas of the fellowship application is describing your contributions to the regulatory affairs profession. So maybe you could give a bit of insight to our members about that area.
Sure. So I joined the regulatory profession in 1996. I switched from a research track. I'm actually a microbiologist by training and with a degree in biological sciences. And I knew someone in my company who was in the regulatory group, and that seemed to be the hub of all things critical about a product. And that included the work that I was doing, the R&D work, and it seemed to all be arriving there. So I thought that was the place to be. So I haven't looked back since. I've been in regulatory since that time. It was a small company. There were only 3 of us in a regulatory department, and therefore we did just about everything. There was a company called BPL, manufacturing blood products for the NHS, and it gave me a great grounding in all things regulatory. We gave advice to the company on what evidence was required by the regulators. We compiled and authored sections of the dossier, even did the photocopying of the dossiers to send them out globally, generated artwork for the packaging, negotiated with countries, and even wrote the SOPs. So I had a chance to work on all sorts of different aspects of regulation and running a department. But one of the things that it opened my eyes to was actually working with the trade association. In that sense, it was the Blood Products Trade Association, and learning how to shape the future of guidance and how important that externally facing part of the role of a regulatory professional is. Whilst I was there, I also attended the TOPRA introductory course, but went on to complete the MSc in 2002, and that really helped broaden my knowledge and horizon and led me to then go and apply to work at a company that I work for now, Amgen. My motivation to move there was to gain more experience, work at a larger company with a range of diseases, and including oncology, which was especially important to me at the time. And at Amgen, I've had multiple roles over the last 15 years of increasing responsibility, and now have a team of over 150 regulatory professionals across Europe. But that's where I really want to sort of focus a little bit of what I've been doing and how that's made me think that I qualify for fellowship. So my role within the company, it's a leadership role now, but I've had sort of increasing roles of responsibility through my time there. But my role now is certainly to develop and mentor the team and to ensure they consider the range of skills it requires to be a regulatory professional. It's not just about putting dossiers together. There's so much more to it than that. And this external piece and influencing the environment you work within is one of those things that I feel passionately about. So I've done that throughout my career. And externally, I've been the voice of the regulatory department, the voice of Amgen, or tried to be the voice of the regulated. I've spent quite a lot of my time working externally with trade associations in the UK, in Europe, with organisations such as TOPRA, obviously, but also SIRS, the DIA, and then working directly with the regulators to try and advance the field of regulation. Now, as a regulated individual, it's easy to complain about regulation not being fit for purpose or keeping up with technology, but we play a part in shaping how it works and helping the regulators to evolve what's expected. And in joining the external debate at BIA, FPA, DIA, I've played a role in shaping discussions on things like orphan regulation, pediatrics, biosimilar regulation, Brexit, digital health, the clinical trial regulation, and most recently I've been working quite closely in Europe on prioritising the regulatory science agenda for 2025. I've been members of some of those committees that I've joined, but I've also led some of those groups. And I've been involved in organising committees of some of the larger events to ensure that the topics are relevant to us and to the evolving field of regulatory. And for example, this year I was on the organising committee for the Euro DIA and chaired a session on the future of healthcare. I've also contributed chapters to books on regulatory, including working with the US organisation RAPS and helping to unlock the complexity of how the European system works for those that don't work in Europe. So I've tried to sort of work on a whole range of different things, giving back to the profession and unlocking the sort of complexity of it and helping it to evolve, I guess is how I'd sum it up.
What advice would you give to a member who was considering applying or nominating someone for fellowship?
So I definitely recommend becoming a fellow at TOPRA or recognising one of your colleagues to become a fellow. People always like recognition, and it's a great way of recognising someone's contribution to the advancing of the debate on how to regulate medicines. Now, we're always happy to review more proposals, and we're always looking for a good diversity in types of application across all the fields of regulatory. I've worked mainly in human medicines, but we see applications for veterinary, for people working in devices, and also people in regulatory operations roles, and right across the spectrum of what regulatory roles entail. The key, though, for me is when we look at those applications, we're looking for people to tell a little bit of the story I just told. What is it that you've been doing that's above and beyond your normal role? Not just the submission of the dossiers, but you've been somehow contributing to advancing how regulation works.
And finally, what does being a TOPRA Fellow mean to you?
So for me, there's probably three elements of what fellowship means. Firstly, it's an honour to be a fellow. It's recognition of some of the work that I've done that was above and beyond my normal role at my company. Secondly, I think there's some prestige. Being able to use FTOPRA after my name makes me proud, but I know for some it may also help them in their career, setting up their own company. Seeing these letters after your name is recognition of your experience, your expertise, and your influence. And I think that's really important. It's been important to me. I think it's important to others. But thirdly, I think it's a chance to learn from others and to network. There's lots of interesting people you meet in the Fellows Network. They share stories, experiences. We run events. The Fellows events, which we're currently having to run a little bit more virtually, but you gradually get to know more people. And you might find out that as you reach out to each other outside of those events, that you can tackle work-related issues. You can understand where you've got shared issues across different aspects of regulatory and then work out how to continue to evolve them together.
Thank you very much, Chris.